Hi everyone, it's Lisa from A Simple Season. I'm going to start today off with a recipe as requested by Carrie. She asked me how I made my bread and I used the easiest recipe ever. I don't need it. It comes together super quick. If you can mix some stuff together in a bowl, you can make this bread. So let's get started. Making bread is really one of the easiest things in the world to do, and there's nothing fancy at all about this recipe, but it tastes amazing. So what I've started out here is 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and to that I will add 1/2 cup of oats. You don't have to put the oats in, you can just use 3 cups of flour, but I like that little bit of extra texture. Then I'm going to put in 1 teaspoon of yeast, 1 teaspoon of salt. And what I'm going to do differently with this particular bread recipe, and you don't have to put this in, but today I'm going to put in 1 cup of shredded cheese. And you don't have to put that in at all, you can just leave it plain, but today that's what I want to do. You can also put in some Italian seasoning, a little bit of garlic powder if you like, or just leave it plain. So now I've got this all combined with my hands. And then to that, I'm adding 1 1/4 cups of warm water. And now we're just going to get in there with our hands and mix it all up together. So as you're mixing up the dough, you want to make sure that all of the flour is being incorporated into the dough. So you don't want to have any dough sticking or like big clumps of it sticking dry onto the side of the bowl. And if you do see that happening, you just add a little bit more water. So right here, normally a 1.25 cups of water is enough, but in this case, I do need to add a little bit more. And honestly, it just depends on the day. I find some days I need another couple of tablespoons of water and other days I don't. So today is one of those days, so I'm just going to add a little tiny bit more water to this dough. And that looks pretty darn good. So you kind of want to have the dough feeling just nice and moist and pliable, and that's, you know, just kind of has that nice kind of almost like a spongy kind of a feel. And that's it. We've done the hardest part. And now what we do is just cover it up with a clean tea towel and just put it in a place to rise that's away from drafts and let it rise for 1 hour. So this is how it looks after an hour, and you can see it's puffed up nicely. And now what we're going to do is just gather up all the dough and just kind of take down that initial puffiness and just roll it up into kind of a little bun like this and just put it back in the bowl. So you'll notice I didn't knead anything. I just took down the puffiness, rolled it into a ball, stuck it back in the bowl, and I hate kneading dough. So if I can absolutely avoid doing it, I will, because I don't like kneading. So now we just put it back in the bowl, cover it up with a tea towel, and we're gonna let this rest for another hour. We're getting ready to bake that bread, and I use a cast iron pan like this one, and that really helps give the bread that nice crispy crust on the outside. And I just got it on Amazon. I'll link it in the description and you can check it out if you want to. So now we're going to set our oven temperature to 400 degrees and put in our cast iron pan while the oven preheats. So I've taken our cast iron pan out of the oven. This is screaming hot, and here's what our bread dough looks like after the 2nd hour of rising. And I'm going to put in a little bit of cornmeal just so that it doesn't stick on the bottom. So I'm just going to gather up all of the dough and pop it in to the cast iron pan and put the lid on. So now this is going to bake for half an hour with the lid on. Then we're going to take the lid off and bake it for another 15 minutes. So I've just taken our bread out of the oven and here it is. It looks great. I'm going to turn it out onto the cutting board. And this looks like an amazing, perfect loaf of cheese bread. And it's very hot, but if I pick it up really quickly, you can hear that crunch in the crust. So I'm gonna let this cool and slice it up after. I cannot wait to get into this. And that's what it looks like inside, and you can see those nice little cheese bits in there, and they're just delicious, but it's just as good plain. Wow, this is an amazing loaf of bread. So as you can see, making that bread is super easy. You just mix up stuff in a bowl, and most of that time is hands off. You're just waiting for it to rise and bake it up. So easy to put together if you have guests coming over for dinner, or a great gift to give to a neighbor. So hopefully you'll give that a try and let me know in the comments if you did. Take care, everyone, and we'll catch you in the next one.